now be recorded.
All right, so yesterday we just kick-started with PowerShell and let me close this out. Yes. So yesterday we just kick-started with PowerShell and we were looking into a couple of commands like write host. We started off telling what PowerShell is and how do you interact with PowerShell and all that stuff. And we started something called write host, which nothing but goes ahead and writes something out on your console. And we then started writing a couple of statements. So let me open the script that we had yesterday. Let's see, open and let's see introduction, and let's open this out. All right, so this is what we were doing. So we said firstly we started with a simple value and we said that particular simple object is called as a string. So I said initially I started with something like dollar name. I said something like Suresh, and this is a string value, and a collection of such strings is now called as the array. So array is nothing but a collection of objects. You can say collection of names, collection of things, collection of a lot of things out here. So if it's more than one, singular, it is a string, plural, it is the array out here. And now I was going ahead and giving multiple things like what is the sport, what is the location, and then we were telling what is right host. My name is dollar array. Whatever that was there in this particular array was getting printed out. Array loves playing dollar sport. Whatever was there in dollar sport was getting printed out. Array belongs to dollar location, and then this is array and all these things. And if I execute this out, I get something like this. The output was something like this. So we were telling that what, the output is not right. So we have to, let's say, go ahead and rectify this out and all that stuff. So we'll talk about that. But yes, any questions still here on what is a string, what is an array, what is a right host? Any questions still
Hi,
here that I
Aaron.
can take? Go ahead, please.
So actually, I was trying to execute a code, but
Okay.
without saying, I have successfully executed the code and I can see the result successfully.
Okay.
When I save the code in my system,
Hmm.
after when I execute this code, I'm getting an error that you don't have any permissions to access this.
Okay. So without saving the code, you're able to execute it, but after saving it, you're not able to execute it, telling that you do not have access and all these things out here.
Correct.
So do one thing. This applies for everyone. Now, PowerShell has something called as an execution policy. Let me put that here. Called as an execution policy out here, which tells PowerShell what to execute, what not to execute, and all these things out. By default, the execution policy of your console is restricted, which means that you cannot really execute anything. Reason being, you get that particular error. So, very firstly, what you do is just go to PowerShell and PowerShell ISC and open this as an administrator. Firstly, run this as the administrator. This program will now open in the administrator console. So this is the administrator console out here. It will tell you that this is the administrator. Now run a command firstly to check what is your execution policy. In order to run that, in order to check that, say get hyphen. You're getting something called as the execution policy of your console. And if you execute this out, see what is the execution policy that you have here. In my case, I have the execution policy called unrestricted, which means that I can save anything, run anything. I don't have any issues basically with doing that. That's the reason I'm able to run everything out here. But in your case, if it is restricted, please make sure to change this to unrestricted. So how do I change that? Again, in order to change something in PowerShell, in order to modify something in PowerShell, it is set hyphen. So get hyphen is to get, set hyphen is to change something. Say execution policy and space, say hyphen execution policy, unrestricted. Go for unrestricted out here and just execute this line. It will tell you, okay, fine, do you want this one? I'll say yes to all. Once that's done, please run your first command once again. and this should tell you that your policy is set unrestricted. And once this is done, try to run that particular script once again. Again, once this is done, just close it and reopen PowerShell, and then try running your saved script again, and let me know if that helps you out there.
What if I don't have administration access?
If you do not have administration access, you won't be able to change this. Very simple. So you have to have the admin access out there.
Okay.
You will need the administrator rights.
Okay.
Yeah, sir, could you please
Just
tell me why hashtag?
can you give me a second? I'm just taking a question offline. I'll just come back to you, Kalyan. Sorry. Because I am logged in, I am logged into my own Windows account. But if you are using an organization's account and etc., when you run it as an administrator, out of 9 out of 10 times it'll ask you a password, the admin password out there. So until and unless you do not, or you do not have the admin credentials, you won't be able to run this as the administrator out here. Sorry, can you come again, please? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. You cannot, because you are changing the registry key. So if I do this on a normal, it's not, let's say, the administrator. You are accessing the registry of your computer to change this out. To access the registry, to access this particular drive out here. Okay. To access the registry and access that particular drive out here, you need access, or you need basically the administrator privileges of your system. Yes, someone online had a question. I can take it now.
Yes, sir, could you please tell me about hashtag? Why putting hashtag?
Sorry, can you come again, please? Good. What was that?
Sir, what is the purpose of hashtag?
Hashtag. No, it's not hashtag. It's not really hashtag out here. It is a comment. So let's not talk about hashtags, because that comes with different this one. This is a comment out here. It's just a hash, and then after that, whatever you write is a comment. There are two things: comments and commands. Commands are executable, comments are not. So you can write anything out there telling that, okay, fine, this is a command, and PowerShell won't execute that. That's the use of let's say something called a hash key out here as such. Yes. Any more questions here?
Sir, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So let me come down to the normal script out here. Let me close this window. All right. So I have the array. It's saying Mahesh, Suresh, and Kiran. And if I just execute this out, again, this is the output that I'm getting. But the output shouldn't be like this. The output should have been something like, the first line should say, my name is Mahesh. Mahesh loves playing, let's say, football. And then the line should say, Mahesh belongs to Mumbai. And then this is Mahesh. It shouldn't print Mahesh, Suresh, and Kiran the way it is doing here as such out here. The reason being, see, if you pass something to a right host statement, right host statement is not very intelligent to understand whether this is a string or this is an array. Right host is not really intelligent. Whatever you give it, it'll just go ahead and let's say print it out. That's the sole purpose of having a right host statement out here, is that I'm just asking PowerShell to go ahead and say, whatever I give you, go ahead and print this out as such out there. But when you want to print something out here, what you need to tell PowerShell is that, just hold on. Before you go ahead and print all these statements, please make sure that you are looking into this one. Please make sure that you're looking into something called $array. And now I'm telling, please make sure that you're printing the statement for each name in this particular $array. So now I'm telling in a simple English that for each name in this particular $array, please go ahead and print the same thing out here. So I'm telling, okay, fine. In that case, then you'll have to print Mahesh, Suresh, and then let's say Kiran, because I'm now giving a statement telling for each. I'm telling for each out here. In the same way, if I take this out and put it in a PowerShell language, because this is plain English that I'm talking about. If I put this in a language of PowerShell, I'll say for each open and close curve brackets or parenthesis, open and close flower brackets. This is the syntax of a loop. Inside this parenthesis, you will need to tell for what exactly are you iterating. I'm telling go ahead and iterate over this particular dollar array. This is the array on which you need to do for each. Before that, I was also telling PowerShell that, you know what, for each name in that particular, let's say, array is something I'm telling. So what this for each statement is expecting is that it's expecting an in condition, telling that something in the array. So I'll say for each dollar name in that particular array. Now this dollar name, or let's do one thing to avoid confusion, I'll say dollar $a. The dollar $a is something that I haven't declared anywhere in my script. It's an empty value. I am putting an empty value so that what PowerShell can do is that PowerShell can say for the very first time dollar $a is equal to Mahesh. So it's looking into that array. It's taking that name called Mahesh, assigning it to something called dollar $a. Second time when it runs, it can erase this name and say dollar $a is equal to Suresh. Third time, it can erase the name again and say dollar $a is equal to Kiran. So three times it needs to execute. And how does it know? Because PowerShell looks at the number of objects inside this particular array and says, okay, fine, there are about 3 objects inside this array. Let me go ahead and iterate over them. This is called iteration or looping or whatever that you can call it. Now what I'll do is I'll get all my statements here. So these are all my statements, which is right host. I'll put all my statements that needs to be repeated over a period of time inside this particular condition, telling that, okay, fine, for each dollar $a in array, please go ahead and then write do something known as a write host. My name is now not array, but dollar $a out here. The reason this is dollar $a is because dollar $a represents each and every name in this particular array rather than a group of names. That's what I wanted. So I'll say, okay, this is dollar $a. This is dollar sport is good enough. This is dollar $a. This is dollar $a. And this is dollar $a. I am inside the loop. And when I'm inside the loop, I would like to use this particular dollar $a condition out here. The reason being I'm going inside the loop right now. So now let's see. If I now execute this out, let me save this. And let me execute this also. Before I execute it, let me put a simple line out here saying write host. I'll just put a line here so that I'll separate each and every, let's say, iteration of my PowerShell. Let me execute this out here. This is what I get right now. So the output earlier without the for each loop was something like this. And now the output with the for each loop is something like my name is Mahesh. Mahesh loves playing football. Mahesh belongs to Mumbai. This is Mahesh. And then you have something called what? This is Suresh. Suresh loves playing football and all that stuff. And then finally it went ahead and wrote the same statement for Kiran. So what it did is that all these statements that you see here, these got multiplied thrice, because the reason being your array has 3 different objects and I am based, or I am, let's say, creating my for each loop based upon this particular array out here. So that's the basic premise that I'm creating this for each loop on. And now I'm telling for each dollar $a, I'm assigning an empty value out here in this particular array. Then I'm making use of this particular dollar $a each and every time out here. I'm going ahead and executing this out. So what is happening right now is that this loop is getting executed thrice, not just once, it's thrice. Each and every time it's picking up the first name, taking the second name, taking the third name, and so on and so forth. If you put a fourth name, telling something like Ramesh, and Control S, save this out. You also have the fourth name coming into picture out here. Mhm. Okay. No, it will take all the four again because you are re-executing your entire script. If you, Mhm, mhm, right, no, uh, it's not like that. This is the entire array that you're giving. So you cannot select just one name and execute this out. It'll throw you the error because this is not a command basically that you're giving. What you can do rather is that you're just highlighting everything out here and then executing this out. But if you want to print a name which is, let's say, equal to, let's say, Kiran, you only want Kiran to be printed. What you can do is that in your for each loop inside this, you can come inside your for each loop because your for each loop is now going ahead and printing all these things out. You can give something called as an if condition. You can say if $A, which represents the name right now, is equal to Kiran. Then if I go ahead, again, if statement also is same like for each. You have an open and close parentheses and then let's say the flower brackets. Now I need to get all my statements inside this bracket out here. So now if I execute this out, you only get that specific name that you're looking for. You cannot highlight it here. You cannot, let's say, give a highlight here and only ask PowerShell to execute this particular name. You will have to give a condition once you're inside the. Yes, name will be printed out. Mhm. Correct. Mhm. Right. Right. Mhm. Right. Correct. It will be executed. Correct. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. You cannot do it because the problem here is that there is a cycle of execution. That's done. You're adding it again. The script will again start from the beginning. Scripts are, let's say, end to end terminated. So after the cycle of execution, again, you'll have to, let's say, if you give the entire array, it will go over the entire array and print everything out there. It's not possible out there. So because the reason being, the script is terminating at the end. Because the script really doesn't know what you want to, let's say, do once again out there. That's the reason you need to put multiple conditions out here, like if and all that stuff, to, let's say, go ahead, ignore other names, only print, let's say, one particular name out here, and so on and so forth. So let me remove this out right now to avoid confusion. So yes, any questions here till the for each loop?
Sir, Madhu here.
Good, please.
Sir, without assigning any value to the A, how it will recognize its name, something else?
Because you don't have to assign it out. PowerShell is taking care of it. PowerShell is taking care of the assignment. The reason
Okay,
being, you're telling in a simple English, you're telling that you know what, for each in array, you're telling this in simple English. Now I'm telling, okay, fine, you're telling me for each in array, but what for each? Now you tell, okay, fine, for each name in that array, please go ahead and write something out here in a very simple English. The same thing you're telling to PowerShell, but you're giving a dollar here. That's it.
okay,
For
thank you,
each
sir.
name in that dollar array. So PowerShell will say, okay, fine, I understand what you want to do. Let me assign the value to the name each and every time, and I'll go ahead and let's say print this out here.
Okay, thank you.
You can do anything, not a problem. You can do B. Again, if you do a B, just a second. So when you say when you replace A, am I replacing A? No, I'm not even declaring A anywhere. What I am controlling. Mhm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it won't. It won't. It will take. It will treat this as a blank value. Override this out. It'll treat this as a blank value and override this out here. So inside the loop, PowerShell is controlling what $A or what $B really does out there.
Kiran?
Ju- just a second. Yes. Do we need to only use lower cases? No, you can also use upper cases. Not a problem. It's not case sensitive. Spaces, yes. Spaces is something that you have to take care of. Upper cases, not a problem. For example, if I do dollar space A, this is an error. I mean, it's, let's say, a space out here. It's considering it to be as a string. This will throw an error. You cannot give spaces, but upper cases, not a
Kiran?
problem. Good, please.
So why we need to use if cases? We can also use dollar name, right? At the place of dollar a.
Yes, you can do anything. You can do dollar name. You can do anything out here. Now, the reason I used A here is because there was already dollar name, so I just didn't want to confuse the class by giving a dollar name out here and then going ahead and executing this out. But yes, in case of dollar A, you can do anything out here. You can use anything as such.
Okay.
Yes. Any more questions here? Anyone? Any more questions out here? Please replace A with some name. When you say some name, do you want me to remove this and replace it, Mahesh? You want to remove this? Dollar Mahesh. Okay. Do I need to do anything else? Replace it with Mahesh. So if I replace that, and if I save this out, aren't you getting the same output? You are getting the same output. Why shouldn't it? Exactly. I didn't replace with a name. I replaced it with a value. Just a second. Guys, can you please go on mute? Jayanti, can you please go on mute? This is the second time that I'm observing that you're unmuted out here. All right. I'm not replacing with a name. There is a difference. There is something called as a name. This is a name. This is not a name. This is a variable. Exactly. This is not a name, my friend. This is a variable. There is a difference between a name and a variable out here. This is a name. This is, yes. Again, this one, you can take any name, but you'll have to iterate over it. You'll have to put a for each loop over it. Correct. Yes, Mahesh is also empty value because I haven't declared Mahesh anywhere. So Mahesh will also become empty value out here. So now PowerShell doesn't treat Mahesh to be as a name. It treats it to be as a parameter. Now it's telling dollar $Mahesh is equal to Mahesh. Dollar $Mahesh is equal to Kiran. And then it's going ahead and printing the same thing out here. But not to do this, avoid this out. Reason being, it will confuse you at a later point in time in your script. So if you just take this out here and put an A or a name, something like that, that will help you out understand at a later point in time that, okay, fine, I've made this changes. Because over a period of time, what will happen is that you start writing thousands of lines out there. So at that time, it will become a little challenging for you to understand why did I put this. Because after a month, this happens really. After a month, if I come back to my own script and look at it, I don't even know why did I write the script that way. Because your mindset when you're writing a script is very different out there. Again, see guys, the intention of going through PowerShell is to not to make sure that, I mean, I'm trying very hard not to make sure that you don't mug this up. Don't mug it up. It's a logic. See, if you try to mug it up, right, it really will not help you. Try to develop your own tendency of writing a logic out here. It's just a matter of practice. So if you just put in like about 1 hour per day and just practice this out, look at multiple examples, I'm sure it's not going to be that difficult. Just like a language, the more you practice it, the better it is out there. All right, so this is not the only loop again. The same thing, what I've written, let me copy the entire thing out. Let us do a new window. So to do a new window, I do a control N, control plus N to open a new window out here. I'll place it here. Let me remove the for each loop. Now the same thing, what I did with, let's say, a for each, can be achieved using something called as a for loop. A for loop out here. What a for loop here tells you is that the concept of for loop is this. Let's understand firstly the concept of for loop and then try to let's say apply the for loop concept to that array out here as such. Let's do this. This for, again, open close parenthesis, open close claw brackets. Any loop in PowerShell kind of follows the same syntax. For each, if, else, all these things are. Now it's telling for, and what for expects from you is that give a condition telling that, for example, I will say $I. I'm taking a value called $I out here, empty value. I'm assigning a value called $I is equal to 0. I'm telling, okay, fine. Take $I as 0, and I'm telling PowerShell that if $I, let's put a $I, I'm telling if $I is less than 0. And when I say less than, it is hyphen LT in PowerShell, greater than hyphen GT, greater than, less than or equal to hyphen LE, less than or equal to hyphen EQ. These are all operators in PowerShell that you have. Not equal to NE. So you have multiple operators out here. So what I'm telling is I'm starting with $I. I'm telling for open close, and now I'm giving a condition telling that, you know what, $I value is 0, and until $I is less than 3. Let's talk about 3 out here. I'm telling, please go ahead, print the value of $I. So I'll tell write host $I. I'm telling, okay, fine, you know what? Until this condition is satisfied, print this value out. And after you print this value out, initially $I is 0. So PowerShell is telling, okay, fine. Is 0 less than 3? Yes, condition is satisfied. So I'll go inside this bracket and I'll print the value of I. So let me put it in a elaborated way. I'll say value of I is. I'm just giving, let's say, value of I is. And here, the value, or here PowerShell should understand that I is equal to 0. And the very first statement, it should tell value of I is 0. After that, I want to tell PowerShell that, you know what, you printed this, great. After you print it, increment the value of 0 with 1, meaning 0 plus 1, and take the value of I as 1 out here. So the second time when you execute it. So now if I just execute this out, firstly I will give the condition here. I'll say after this, I'll put a $I and say plus plus. Telling I plus 1 out here. I'm simply telling, okay, fine, I is I plus 1. Now, if I execute this out, just this part, so I'm just highlighting everything that I want to execute. This is how it's coming to be. It is firstly telling, okay, fine, the value of I is starting at 0. It says, okay, fine, I is great, starting at 0 out here. Good. Let me go inside the loop and let me print this out as I is equal to 0. It's telling, okay, fine, I printed I is equal to 0. Tell me what to do next. I'm telling I plus plus, which nothing mean but whatever is the value of I, add 1 to it. Saying, okay, fine, I'm adding 1 to it. Let me go back. Now it's telling the value of I is 1. It's telling is 1 less than 3? Yes, that's the reason it's coming here. Printing what? I is equal to 1. It's telling, okay, fine, I printed I is equal to 1. Tell me what to do now. I'll tell I or 1 plus 1 again, which is 2. It's telling, okay, fine, let me go back. 2. Is 2 less than 3? Yes. Again, it's coming inside the loop. It's telling, okay, fine. I printed out 2. Now tell me what to do. I'm telling 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Now it's going back. It's now asking the same question. Is 3 less than 3? Is it less than 3? It's less than or equal to. It's not less than 3. Condition is not satisfied. It's coming out of the loop. So now it's telling 0, 1 and 2. It's just giving this particular number. Let's do one thing. Okay, but before I move forward, how many of you all didn't get this concept? Yes. Again, this is the syntax. So when you do I plus plus, it's just telling I plus 1. If you are telling something like I plus 2 or something like that, if you want to add 2 to each and every time, then you need to say something like this. I is equal to I plus 2. This is I plus plus is just another way to put it something like this. I plus plus is just another way to put something called I plus 1. But if you say I plus 5, something like that, right? So, okay, I'll just save this out as for loop and let me save this as a PSM1 file. Okay, fine. So, if this is the condition and if I execute this out, value of I is 0. The reason being after 0, what happened? It said 0 plus 5 is what? 5. Is 5 less than 3? No. That's the reason it didn't even come into the condition out there. The value is only 0. It only printed out once. And instead of telling I plus 1, instead of saying I is equal to I plus 1, we are just doing I plus plus. That's it. It's a shortcut or it's an easier way to, let's say, represent the same thing out there. Yes, any more questions here? Let's check out a couple of things. I started the $I value to be 0. What if I say I is equal to 10, I is less than 3, then go ahead and print this out. What do you, it'll throw an error, okay. Anyone else, it'll become 0. Let's see. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's clear my screen out. Let's see. Did it print anything? So I executed the entire thing, but I don't get any output out here. Why do you think this is? 3, which is definitely greater than 3. So no matter what will happen, it will not even go inside your loop. Only if your condition is satisfied will it go inside this loop and print the statement out. Here, the condition to begin with is itself not satisfied. I'm telling I value is 10, I is less than 3. So PowerShell is asking, okay, fine, is I is less than 3? No, I won't go inside it. So I won't even print your statement out here. Let's do one thing. Mhm. You will get the output. If your condition doesn't satisfy, the output will never come. So let's do one thing. Let's say this is until this is I less than 5. Let's do one thing. Let's say greater than. Let's do greater than out here. So I'm telling I value is 10. I is greater than 3. Then go ahead and print this out. Now what do you think will happen? It'll start printing from 3 or 4. Why do you think it'll start printing from 3 or 4? 3, correct. But the I value starting where? 10. So I value will always and always start at 10. I value is starting at 10. So the very first statement will be value of I is 10. 10 plus 1, 11. 11 is greater than 3. Yes. 12 greater than 3. Yes. If I execute this out, this is called as an infinite loop. Infinite loop, infinite. It will keep running on until the whole day. Even if you leave your script, it will keep running the whole day out here. Reason being the condition is being satisfied again and again out here. Just stop this out. Let's come back into the very beginning of this one. And let's see this. Value started from what? 10. Reason being you gave I initial value to be 10. I will always start with an initial value and then increment it out. So what it is doing is that it's firstly telling, okay, fine, I is equal to 10. Is 10 greater than 3? Yes. So I'll go here. I'll do a right host. Value of I is 10. That's the reason you see value of I is 10 out here. Then it's saying, okay, fine, 10 is done. Next, what should I do? You're telling I plus plus. Saying, okay, fine, I'll do I plus plus. Then come back. Now I value is what? 11. Now it's telling I is greater than 3. Yes. Go ahead, print the 11 out here and so on and so forth. Until condition, exactly. Where it should break, exactly. You didn't tell that. For which you can do something like an if condition out here. So what you can do is that instead of giving I plus plus here, you can cut this out and give it here in the bracket only. Even this will work. Either you give it at the end or give it there. PowerShell will still consider it to be in the same behavior. You can say if $I, I'll say is equal to 30, giving some random value out here. If it's equal to 30, then I'm telling what to do. I'll say if it is equal to 30, then come out of the loop. Now to tell that, I'll say break. Let's say break this loop out here. So now if you see this, let me clear the screen out. And let me save this out here and let us re-execute this once again. Selling started with 10, went till 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, 15, and then finally 30. At 30, the loop got broken. Selling the loop is breaking out here at 30 as such out there. So it's coming out of the loop. So now I'm giving the if condition, telling if the value is equal to 30, then break this out, then come out of it and all these things out here. Mhm. Mhm, mhm. Okay. So when you say it is Ansible, you're talking about probably a YAML syntax. Or YAML syntax out here. So YAML follows a particular syntax out here. YAML is a different language. YAML is altogether a different language out here, which follows its own syntax. So if you look at YAML, spaces and indentations are very important. Here it is not. Mhm. Sure. Not really. It can be anywhere here. It can be anywhere. The reason I'm writing it here is because when you read your script at a later point in time, it will become easy for you to understand where that break is coming in. Because if it's here, right, you might not look at the if statement at all. You might simply look at break and say, okay, fine, the break is out of if loop. So this becomes an issue when you write, let's say, lengthy scripts out here. For readability perspective, that's the reason I'm giving a lot of spaces out here. So that if I just look at my script, I will be simply able to understand that, okay, fine, you know what, simply, very simply go ahead into your script and telling, okay, fine, you know what, this is the script, this is where it's starting, okay, fine, this is where it's ending. This is how I'll be able to identify it out. It can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. Just starting and ending. It just represents what is the loop start, what is the loop end. It can be anywhere out here. Yes, any more questions here? Hmm. Sorry, can you come again, please? It in this one, yes, it will still work. Meaning it's doing the same thing. Either you put it at the end, something like this, or you put it here. Both will work. It no, it should not be in the if condition, because if it is in the if condition, it will only do I plus plus if I is equal to 30, and I will never be 30 because your I only is talking at 10. You're not incrementing it out. So it depends where you're placing this out here. So either after the if condition or here after. So better way, if you are getting confused, place it here, so that you don't have to understand why, where should I place and all that stuff. If you follow this particular syntax, you're good. Yes, someone online has a question. Mhm. Okay. Yes. Correct. Second plus is not 1, 2, 3. Second plus here is just representing, instead of writing I is equal to I plus 1, we'll start $I plus 1. Instead of writing this, I'm telling I plus plus. If it is 2, then you have to give it as I equal to I plus 2. There is no alternative syntax out here. Then you have to give it as I is equal to I plus 2 as such.
So,
10, 12, yes. Yes, correctly. Someone online has a question. I'm sorry.
yeah, this is Navin sir. Only plus one, we use a shortcut for that plus plus. Okay.
Yes, any more questions here? Okay, again, so why are we really doing this for loop out here? What is the intention of doing the for
Sir,
loop out here? Is because good.
sir, is it mandatory to keep the break within the flower parenthesis?
Yes, here it is mandatory. Reason being, whenever I value reaches to 30, I want my script to break out. I want my script to come out of it. That's the reason I put the
So,
break inside the if loop out here. Now,
so
if you put it
if I
outside,
just write down the break,
yeah, if you just write it a break out here. So, for
so what
example,
happens?
I put a break here. Sorry, can you come again, please?
Uh, what happens if I keep the break? I mean,
Hmm.
if I don't place the parenthesis, yeah,
If
without
you
the
do the break where,
parenthesis,
sorry, can you come again, please?
it, can I place the break without placing it in between the parentheses? What happens?
This one, like you don't want the if loop out here.
No,
Something
no,
like
I'm
this,
saying that. So if I just yes, yeah, that's it.
like this. Okay. Now tell me what
No,
is
no,
going to
how
happen.
how loud?
See, your voice is very low, so I'm not able to really follow you. So if you can be a little loud,
Can I explain
So
what
yeah, good, please.
when we
yeah, I'm saying that.
start if loop, we are
Okay,
using flower brackets, right?
okay.
What if I use normal open and close brackets? I guess you
You
will get.
cannot use it. Very
No, no,
simple. You cannot use
no, no. My
it. Okay.
question is that can I end up this script by just placing the break? If not, within the parentheses. So what happened if I just put down a break there? If not between
Uh,
with a flower parenthesis.
okay. Do one thing. What I'll do is I'll send you this one out. I'll send you the loop out in the chat window. Go ahead and just copy it out at your end, and just tell me what you want to do, so that I'll be able to understand what exactly you want to do, and send it back to me over the chat, and I'll look at that and then answer what is going to happen if I do something like that. Because the voice that you're talking about is very low, so I'm not able to really catch that at my end. So please take this out and just give it back to me, so that I'll help you out with the same thing.
Oh.
Yes, until
So
then, any question?
Sir, can you please go to that output, sir?
The output, okay.
You are
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Can you please go to the top,
Okay.
top, sir, top? Yeah, sir. Go back to that script, sir, please.
Okay. Let me minimize this out. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sir. Here in that output and here script, it's not related to that upper part, Ramesh and these values 30.
No, it's not
It's
related.
not related.
Yeah,
Only what we are highlighting and what we are running that will execute, right?
correct. Again,
Okay.
even if I run this out entirely, you'll still get
Okay.
the same output. Again, here, because the break is outside, that's the reason it broke out after 10. But yes,
Okay.
I do not relate the for loop with that particular array, which I have to, let's say,
so
link
anyhow,
both of
sir.
these. Mhm. Good, please.
Yeah. Okay. It's not my question. Someone are talking.
Equate the I value with the 30, no? So, so the maximum.
Hey, I do not. Okay, fine. I heard something called
Sir, you
maximum
have
out here.
equate the I value with the 30, no? So what is the need of? No, no. That's
Go
what.
ahead.
So you have equate the I with the 30, no? So the maximum.
Correct.
So we have already allocated I to 30, no? So what is the need of a break then?
Firstly, if I don't put a break, then
Break
my
with
question
I.
is that, okay,
Yeah.
my question is that
Because we have
what will
already
be put
equate.
in, yeah, what if, okay, if I don't have a break, what
So
can
at
we put
max,
here?
the I can took up to 30 the value.
Ravi, your voice is too low. I'm sorry to tell. Your voice is like
So
too
at
low. I'm
max,
not
it
able to
can
follow.
take.
Yeah, please do, send
So
me
at
out
max, we
here.
have already equate the I with the
Ravi, can you
30.
please type your question out, please? I'm not able to follow your voice. Type your question out or send me across an email so that I'll help you out with the same thing out there. Because I'm not able to follow you. I'm not able to get your question, and
Sure,
I'm
sure.
not able to reciprocate back in the same way out here. Okay.
Okay, sir. I'll just mail it to you.
Sure. Please go ahead and send across an email and respond back to you out there. Alright, someone offline had a question.
Sure, sure,
I'll just
sure.
take that. It will work, but even if I put the break here in the bracket, out of the bracket, it will work, but it won't give you the output. It won't give the output that you're expecting. In this case, what do you think will be the output? It be infinite loop. How will it be infinite? Because here it is 10. It's greater than 3, or yes, 10 is always greater than 3. That's right. It should be an infinite according to you, but if I execute this out, why exactly? Because it came inside. It said this is 10. It said if I is equal to 30, condition is not met. 10 is not equal to 30. It didn't do anything inside this, but it came out. It said there's a break, I'll break it out. Simple. You're not giving it, or you're not giving a condition to your break. You're saying, so very simple, compare it with you're driving a bike. I'm telling if there is a speed breaker, you hit a brake. If I don't put that if condition until hit a brake, then your question is where should I hit a brake? Or should I just hit a brake out there? PowerShell is going to do the same thing out there. If you're telling, okay, fine, PowerShell, if you see that the value of I is equal to 30, only then hit a brake out here. That's when it'll hit a brake. Just a second. Sorry, can you? Mhm. Mhm. It won't be executed because you don't have anything to execute out there. That's the reason I put a break inside this particular condition called if. When I'm telling if I is equal to 30, then go ahead, hit your break out here. Break in equal to, in place of equal to, you're telling? Exit, break or exit. Exit, what exit is going to do is this. Just observe this. So now if I just execute this out, it's going to, let's say, just execute out of the terminal. Same behavior. but break is considered to be a safer option to go with. Sometimes execute will just close your terminal. Just put a break here so as to break your, let's say, script out here as such. You don't have to. You don't have to. If I give a dollar break, this will become a parameter with a null value. With a break, PowerShell is going to understand that this is the break out here. Now, how will it understand? That's how language is designed. Yes. Now, just to relate to it, okay, just to relate to things out here, I'm not going to explain how this is working. I'll take that out. But in case if I want to write the same loop in, let's say, a for logic, what I'm going to do is this. Let me re-put my condition here. We'll say $I is equal to 0, $I is less than 3, I plus plus. I'm saying just a simple write host. My name is. Here the dollar array gives me all the names. I will say dollar of dollar array open close $I. What am I doing? Why am I doing? Let's see. Aren't you getting the output that you wanted using the for loop? But how did you get that? How did I put this? This is something that sorry. We're not entirely using I in place of array. There is something called indexing. Let's see this. If I do a dollar array, it is Mahesh, Suresh, Kiran, and everything. Whenever you execute an array in PowerShell, PowerShell is going to implement something called as an indexing. Just like your textbook has an index telling 0 page, you have this one. Same thing. Array will say, okay, fine. At a position called 0, I have a value called Mahesh. At a position called 1, I have a value called Suresh. By default, index values start from 0. Now it's telling at a position called, let's say 2, I have Kiran. At a position called 3, I have what? Ramesh. I know that I can produce I values as 0, 1, 2, and 3 if I have the right condition. So if I do dollar array, I want to index into it, I'll say open close square brackets 0, Mahesh, open close square brackets 1, Suresh, square brackets 2, Kiran, P, Ramesh. Number represents a particular name value that is inside the array. So now that's the reason. Instead of 0, I'm telling it as I. I value is any which way coming as 0, 1, 2, and all these things out. Again, here in this condition, I won't be able to get Ramesh because it's only doing 0, 1, 2. If I want to do that, then either I have to do it as 4 or I have to do it as less than or equal to 3. Any which ways out there. If I now execute this out, Ramesh is also going to come out here. So again, sleep over it. Look at this one. Just compare. The only assignment that I want you all to give is that just compare a for each to a for. Just see how a for each is. Just see what a for is. And my concern or my, let's say, question out here is this. I have multiple arrays. Mahesh loves playing football. Suresh loves playing cricket. Kiran loves playing some other sport. Ramesh loves playing some other sport. So 4 different names, 4 different arrays. They belong to 4 different places. I want my statement to be something like this. My name is Suresh. I belong to Hyderabad. My sport is something like this. My name is Ramesh. I belong to Pune. My sport is something like that. Tell me, how do I produce this out using a for loop or a for each loop? Exactly. So dollar sport, just sports in open close brackets. Same like the way you're mentioning name, give an array for sports, give an array for locations, write another statement telling right host, I love playing dollar of dollar sport dollar I. That in that way, again, this is something that I leave it for you all to try. I'll in which ways address this out, but please try it out. Try it out both using a for each and also for loop, because I want you all to think about this. To let's say again, no matter how many errors you get, it's okay, not a problem. Errors are good. You can learn a lot from errors out there. So you have to make mistakes at this particular point time out there. So just try this out. Let me know how it goes out there. And on Monday when we meet, we'll continue with this particular for loop concept, and we'll try to apply this for loop concept, because what I'm going into is this. Instead of giving array as Mahesh, Suresh, Kiran, Ramesh, I want to say it is RG1, RG2, RG3, RG4. Research group 1, research group 2, research group 3, research group 4. And I want to say location is, let's say, East US to West US to Central US and something. And instead of just doing a right host, I want to go ahead and create the resource groups in that particular location on Azure. I'm trying to apply the concept of Windows PowerShell and take it to Azure and hit Azure with all these things out here, so that just execute one script. Instead of doing a right host, it'll go ahead and let's say create your resource groups out there on the portal. Yes, for indexing, you will have to give square brackets out there. So